Good afternoon. It is afternoon here at my home as I'm recording for our second session, and I'm just going to give you a brief overview, talk to you for a few minutes, and you may want to have your PowerPoint up on the side, or you may want to just listen and then go to your PowerPoint. So this is session 2, and we're going to be learning about vocabulary again. So you'll see on one of the first slides I have a question for you and asking you, what's a new vocabulary word that you've learned this week? I think that it's great to learn new words and share them with your students on a regular basis. Certainly when you're reading aloud or you're looking at different texts, and if they're vocabulary words that you're not familiar with or you think the students might not be, make them aware of them. And in my classroom, when I used to teach 5th grade, when I was in the regular classroom, one of the things that I always shared with students, we had a wild and wonderful word bulletin board, and then they had a log where they recorded words as they were reading. As students begin to be more cognizant and you make them aware and you make it important, you'll see that students will be adding words to your wall, will be excited about new words they have learned, and will be willing to share and talk to you and the class about them. So that's something you might want to think about. Additionally, I'm asking you to share an idea that you've utilized this week in your classroom or with your students, or someone shared with you or you learned. And I think that will be helpful for all of us in sharing. Remember, since we are not all meeting together, this is our format, this is our discussion as you write and journal things in your learning log. So our objectives for class number 2, we're going to talk about vocabulary's role in reading success. And one of the big ideas for this session is the close procedure. Have you used it? Are you familiar? It's certainly something that's been around for a long time. And today, or in the session for class 2, you're going to practice with a fairy tale, Little Red Riding Hood, and just do a 5-minute activity, and then I'm going to ask you to really think about yourself as a reader. What did you learn? And then what are some ideas that you can carry over when you use a close procedure with your students? We're also going to examine the positives and negatives of using context clues and vocabulary, because that's really what you're doing when you do a closed procedure. You're looking at context clues. So is this something that will be a positive experience for your students, or is it negative, like for some of your struggling readers, because they don't understand some of those context clues, or because they're not clear? And sometimes we think they're perfectly clear, but they are not for our students. So we'll talk about that. There are quite a few slides that I have included in the PowerPoint this week regarding that. And we'll talk a little bit about word parts, certainly something important in vocabulary. And then lastly, we'll be looking at some positions from other experts in the field of vocabulary. There are lots of big names, lots of big vocabulary gurus, if you would have, that you will hopefully learn from, and have some ideas and maybe come up with a few favorites that you really like. So those are our objectives for our class.